So I don't really know what to call this video. I just think it's going to be something that's really important to talk about, something that I've been kind of confronted with recently, and I think it's worth bringing up. So I guess here goes. On my birthday a few days ago, one of my friends was asking me how am I able to coach Tracer for the 1,000th time and to do so with the same intensity as the sessions before, with the same level of intent, with the same level of energy and focus. And it was good to hear that, because that's obviously the impression I like to give. I like to make sure that every session feels special. But it definitely made me think a little bit. And I think with some thought, I was able to come up with not just how I'm able to do that, but why I'm able to do that, and also the value of able to do that. So today we're going to be talking about the value of coaching Tracer and why it matters, the value of boredom, the value of the most mundane, repetitive tasks in your life. And so I guess we'll start off with the how. The how is that as I've been fortunate enough to be a little bit more successful in my content and coaching career, being able to charge more, I've actually cut down a lot on quantity. So the first thing that I did was I've had a lot of meetings with a lot of different people and a lot of business decisions that have actually compromised my income. I'm not really making any more money than I was like a year and a half ago. And you might wonder why. Why would I do something like that? Well, the goal is that coming into early in content in my Overwatch League career, especially in contenders, I was working long hours, and the quality of my work was like really not always at its best. It was really inconsistent. And my number one goal was to, as soon as I became a little bit more successful, was to actually dial back and to just focus instead on really high quality hours. And so I have some other health issues outside of that that come. I believe I have either undiagnosed sleep apnea or hyperthyroid, whatever, that I'm currently working with a doctor to sort out, which means I'm not as energetic as I used to be. But I'm trying to be respectful of my health and the energy that I have every day. And so I really make sure that the first thing I did was cut down on my coaching sessions per day, or shorten the et cetera work, or outsource. Like right now I'm making basically no money on YouTube because most of the money that I make is going to thumbnails or editing or whatever else. And so, as soon as I could afford to work less, that was the priority over even making more money, which you can draw your own conclusions whether that's something you think you prefer to do. I don't know. All I know is that's really helped the quality of my work to stay really high, because if I can only have 2 to 4 hours of high intensity work every day, I know that no matter how mundane or how boring it is, if I can really apply myself to it, then I'll be successful at that. I can't possibly coach Tracer 3 or 4 times every single day and have the same level of quality. It's just not possible. It's why people always make fun of me for my gameplay on stream, when the reality is that I've already been working for 4 or 5 hours a day. I know it's not going to be the highest quality. So if I'm really serious about improving or learning the character, it's generally going to be off stream. So the how is just, I know my limitations. I'm not superhuman. There's nothing special about me whatsoever. So I just am realistic about that and said the goal to be what I think I physically can do on the day, what I mentally can do on the day, so that it's not magic that I put in more effort. It's just as soon as I possibly could, cut down on my working hours and try to take care of myself elsewhere. Now, the why I do it is really important. And I think that this is going to come across as very egotistical, but I actually think it's really important. I learned pretty on in my life with sports and with other things unrelated to work that when you thought yourself or believed yourself to be capable of something, that you would more often than not do it. I mean, it's really like, believe in yourself and you'll succeed. It really does work, because a lot of the times our identity drives our actions. If I think that I behave a certain way, I'm more likely to behave a certain way. Maybe not every moment to moment, but overall, that's going to change my decisions in the way that I behave in the long term. And so when I believe myself to be good at something, I'm going to be good at something because it's important for me to defend and bolster my identity. And so I believe I'm the best Overwatch coach in the world. Maybe not at every single detail, maybe not the best at wrecking ball micro. Maybe there's Korean coaches out there that have better macro understanding than I am, although I doubt that. I just think I'm the best. And I don't know that for sure. Obviously, I'd say there's probably a decent chance that somebody's smarter than me, but I think I'm the best. And whether that's true or not, well, it's not that it's irrelevant, but it's irrelevant to me anyway, because that belief doesn't lead to a lackadaisical approach. It doesn't lead to complacency, because if I believe that I'm going to be the best, I know that the only way I got to be the best was with a lot of really dedicated effort and work, and honestly work in ways that I don't see other coaches doing, focusing on different aspects, opening myself up to new ideas, challenging my beliefs, changing the way I'm teaching constantly, even just in the past couple of years. And I know that that system is what made me where I am today. And I have to stay true to that. Like, the reason I am the best, if I am the best, is because of what I've done. It's not a magic. Like, I don't get to be muscular and strong or fast or wise just by snapping my fingers. It took a process to get there. And if I get off that train, then I'm going to lose that. So as long as being the best Overwatch coach in the world is important to me, then it's going to be easier for me to stay on that focus, on that process, because I would feel dissatisfied and disappointed if I wasn't able to coach Tracer at a high level, if I wasn't constantly innovating and figuring out new ways of explaining things. Now, you may not agree with me. You may not think I'm the best Overwatch coach in the world. I'm sure a lot of people want, and I may not be the best Overwatch coach in the world. I mean, I'm not stupid enough to think that I'm guaranteed the best, but that's just who I think I am. And so that's why I behave in the way that I am. Now, the question is what's the value of all this, besides just being able to coach Tracer really, really well because you've coached it so many times? And this is a really interesting thing that I've come across, especially in the last few years, where the value of coaching Tracer hasn't really been coaching Tracer. It's been the fact that coaching Tracer, getting repetition on something over and over and over again. If you guys have heard any of my sessions, it develops an autopilot. You start to be able to do things without thinking. But actually, that's very important, because when you're able to skip steps and not worry about thinking super intently about every single little detail, like if I'm coaching a Wu Yang or a brand new character, I'm going to need to be fixating on a lot of little different details, and I might miss the forest of the trees. It's still going to be a good, informative coaching session, but I'm going to have to fixate on what is Wu Yang. With Tracer, I know Tracer. I know the character, I know the micro, I know the macro, I know everything. And so what's actually I've been allowed to do is I've been allowed to kind of shift my perspective because I still have that energy, because I still have that focus, because I still have that energy. And a lot of my macro Overwatch strategy, big picture coaching strategies, whether it's the clock or target priority or convenience or cheating or taking responsibility with the angle that you're on, any of these basic principles that I've been working on, even just off-angling, the value of off-angling, being able to explain that well. All of those, I believe, without exception, have actually developed from coaching Tracer. And you can argue that, part of it's because Tracer's like the pinnacle of Overwatch and map control and so on. That's partly true, but most of it's because it's such an easy, simple character for me to apply myself to on many aspects, because I've done it so many times, that it allows me to fully fixate on the things outside of her as an individual character, in just the game itself. So because I'm still applying myself, and because there's nowhere for me to go, at least immediately, within the character's individuality, that energy has to go somewhere. And so I guess the lesson to learn here is that a lot of the times, innovation comes from boredom. Innovation comes from repetition. When every new and novel aspect of the character is lessened or diminished, if you're still applying yourself with that same level of energy, you're going to start to innovate. You're going to start exploring and experimenting and finding new and better ways of doing something. When I'm learning how to ride a bicycle, right, and I'm brand new to learning how to ride a bicycle, I'm not thinking about new, different, better, unique, fun, silly tricks, things that I can do with a bicycle. I just want to stay on the thing. But as I get comfortable and confident with doing it, then I start to innovate and experiment, but it comes from a place of experimentation. There's a lot of people out there that would ride the bicycle every day and they would never learn how to get better at riding the bike. They're just mid, right? But if you apply yourself and you're already really good at those fundamentals, then you have nowhere else to go but to innovate and but to limit test, but to experiment. And that's really important as an Overwatch player. And that's really important for just being a person in general, just in anything that you do in life. So I guess here's what to pull away from. It's a reminder, as always, to be responsible and respectful of your mental energy. Avoid distractions, embrace boredom sometimes, make sure that you're getting sleep, apply yourself to whatever you're doing. Identify yourself, work on identifying yourself as being capable. Not necessarily that I am, but I am capable of doing great things. because that identity will drive your actions and it becomes a self-fulfilling loop. Now, that might not be how you feel right now. It's a weird dichotomy of what starts first, chicken and the egg, the identity or the actions, which one starts, but one leads to the other. So if you start even just with actions and you don't even believe in yourself, that action will eventually build a little bit of identity, and identity will lead to actions, and it has to start somewhere. And then crucially, even in the most mundane, boring aspect of your life, remember that the ability to achieve excellence with what you're doing, even if it's the crappiest job ever or the most boring study ever, to be able to achieve excellence and then maybe even innovate within that bubble isn't just an opportunity to innovate within that sphere because maybe we don't care about that sphere, but it's the ability to learn how to innovate and how to achieve things, period. That's the real challenge here is when I look at something like Tracer. What I learned about Tracer is mostly contained to Overwatch and or just first-person shooters in general. Or at best case scenario, just games, combat, whatever. Doesn't really apply outside of that. But what did apply is understanding the value of application, how to get there, why it matters, and what's the value of it, right? And that is something that absolutely is applicable outside. Understanding that I can apply myself to something and be able to innovate once I master it is, and honestly, the confidence that I can do that in anything and that it matters in anything that I do. Just the ability to innovate, learning how to make that is important. And so I encourage you guys, if you think that whatever you're doing is pointless, remember that I'm on here on a YouTube video talking about video games. Okay, your job is probably more important than mine in that regard. My point being is that no matter where you're at, your ability to innovate and explore these new ideas, really, we all have that potential. We all have that skill set. All it takes is the identity and the focused effort. And then to embrace the fact that no matter how unimportant you may think your situation is or your opportunity to innovate is, it's something to do. And I think that's the important thing too, is that even if it's like when I would tutor math to like 9 and 10-year-olds, right? And a lot of them would go, what's the point of this? What's the point of it? And just developing your mind, the ability to problem solve and learn and do well at whatever you're applying yourself to do. Doesn't mean that you have to do whatever you're doing right now. Doesn't mean you can't go and try something new. But if you are stuck wherever you are right now, apply yourself to it. Make the best of it. Because even if the skill itself doesn't matter, learning how to apply that skill will.